Every judgment is made with incomplete information. We rarely know everything that could be relevant to a decision, a prediction, or an evaluation. As a result, good judgment often depends not only on the information we have, but also on our ability to recognize what information might be missing. This is why a useful question in judgment and decision making is, what information might I be overlooking? Psychological research has shown that people frequently focus on information that is vivid, specific, or personally meaningful, while neglecting information that may be less noticeable but highly informative. One example of this is base rate neglect. Base rates describe how often an outcome typically occurs. They provide information about the broader context in which an event takes place. However, people often focus on the details of a particular case and give too little weight to information about how frequently different outcomes usually occur. Imagine reading a detailed description of a person who enjoys mathematics and spends much of their free time working on computers. Many people immediately conclude that this person is likely to be an engineer. But whether that conclusion is reasonable depends not only on the description itself, it also depends on how common different occupations are in the population being considered. Ignoring that broader context can lead to judgments that feel plausible but are statistically unlikely. A related phenomena is the representativeness heuristic. People often judge probability by asking how much one thing resembles another. If a person resembles our mental image of an engineer, we may judge that outcome as likely. Similarity can sometimes provide useful information, but resemblance and probability are not the same thing. Events that seem representative are not necessarily the most probable events. People sometimes judge a detailed and specific scenario to be more likely than a broader, more general scenario because the detailed story feels more representative. Yet adding details almost always makes an event less probable, not more probable. These examples illustrate an important point. Information that feels compelling is not always the information that deserves the greatest weight. Sometimes the most useful information is less obvious. Another example comes from research on prediction and forecasting. People often place considerable confidence in intuition, experience, and personal impressions. In many situations, these sources of information are valuable. However, decades of research have shown that simple statistical models and objective indicators often outperform unaided human judgment, even expert judgment. This finding doesn't imply that expertise is unimportant or that decisions should always be delegated to algorithms. Instead, it suggests that people sometimes overlook sources of information that are highly predictive because those sources seem less compelling than vivid stories, personal experiences, or our intuitive impressions. Asking, what information might I be overlooking, encourages us to broaden the set of information we are willing to consider and to recognize that the information that first captured our attention may not be the whole story. The quality of a judgment depends not only on the information that enters the decision process, but also on information that remains outside of it. A base rate, an alternative explanation, or an objective indicator may not guarantee the correct answer, but it can substantially change how we understand a situation. It can lead us to different judgments and decisions, and it can ultimately improve our chances of reaching favorable outcomes. When uncertainty is high, one question that is often worth asking is, what information might I be overlooking?